Canadians, eh? Spend a toonie on some maple syrup and bacon, put that in your poutine, shove it down your throat while we take the initiative. What we have here is Sang-Froid, Tales of Werewolves. This was made by the Canadian indie company Artifice Studio, and the game itself is just as Canadian. First, the story. It takes place in Lower Canada in 1858, which is modern-day Quebec. Two brothers are trying to protect their sister, who, unbeknownst to them, is being pursued by the devil. The gameplay is split into two phases, the planning stage during the day, and the fighting phase during the night. During the day, you're setting a bunch of traps to help you fight against the enemies at night. Things like wolf traps, exploding barrels, rocks hanging from a net. You can even set up watchtowers and zip lines between them for quicker access around the map. The enemies will spawn in waves, and it's marked on the map where and how many will spawn, as well as their target. The structures you have to defend are spread across the map, so you have to plan your defenses accordingly. This may seem like a tower defense game, but it's not. You don't build upon an increasingly larger death machine for the enemies to run through. What makes it different is the second phase. Once you're ready, you take control of one of the two brothers and put your defense plan into action. Your enemies are wolves, diabolical creatures like werewolves, and the mythical creatures called the Mycan. I really like how the combat is set up. Your primary weapon is an axe, and you can do combos and special moves with it. This depends on a stamina bar, so you have to catch your breath every now and then, and this leaves you open for attack. You also carry a musket, which does a good amount of damage, and you have to use it to set off some of the traps. But being a musket, it takes several seconds to reload a single shot. Again, this makes you open for attack. This is where all the planning and all the traps you set beforehand will come into play. This is why I like the combat. You can't take on an entire group of enemies by yourself. They can kill you somewhat easily, even though you're a frickin' lumberjack. You have to use the traps to thin out their ranks, or at least deal some major damage before you go in. And you have to take them down quick because you have many places you need to be in. If any one of your target structures are taken out, you lose. Sang-Froid has many RPG elements. You can pick and choose abilities for your character during the planning phase. It depends on your playstyle. I mainly focused on improvements to my traps and my axe. You can also visit the town for supplies, and you can have your weapons and ammo blessed at the church. The story is told with a number of cutscenes mostly during the day, but some of them do happen during the night in between waves. So it's up to you, the mighty lumberjack, to take on the creatures of legend. It's an amusing premise, and this gets people's attention. But is it enough to be successful in the market? Let's take a look. Within the 4 to 8 week time period, I don't think there will be as much exposure as it should have. Reviews for the game were posted by a lot of the major sites ranging from good to okay, and the general theme of the game would seem to raise eyebrows. I mean, Canadian lumberjacks, eh? That would get people's attention, even if it's just to poke fun at the Canadian stereotype. I've also seen a few videos on YouTube, but I don't see any discussion of this game on Reddit, or any other forums for that matter. Of course, the gameplay is what carries this game, but this exposure is very important for generating sales and just making people aware of the game's existence. I don't think the game will have enough, and this lack of exposure will snowball in the long term. That's in 3 to 6 months' time. By then, I think the game will be dead. It seems to me this will just be another game on someone's list of games to play through, assuming it will even make it onto the list. I don't see any features that give players a reason to cling to it. No multiplayer, no challenge modes, nothing of that sort. The single player, though really fun and challenging, is all this game has for now. One of the creators mentioned the possibility of additional free content for the game via patches. There will be no paid DLC for the game. That could lead to some people coming back to play it, but not a complete revival. That being said, if the goal was simply to put out a good single-player game, they've done it. The game is very good, very challenging, and has some interesting game mechanics. The price is $15 on Steam, so it's a good deal as well. Sang-Froid reminds me of some of the Warcraft 3 maps I played a few years ago. I don't remember the names, but they were fun as hell. I have no idea if this game was inspired by them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were, or by something similar. I'd say this game is worth checking out. As a side note, some of you were asking when the follow-ups will be done. Just so everyone knows, all of the games I've done between January and March will be followed up in July, and this game, along with everything else between April and June, will be done in October. These follow-up videos are to determine the accuracy of the long-term analysis. Look forward to them, and thanks for watching.